everyone. Welcome to Cancer Smiles and Sarcasm. Tammy, your host. And today I have my husband, Sean, who's going to talk to you about life insurance. Yes, this is an important topic, especially if you have cancer or know somebody who has cancer. This is a very important topic because it is a great investment, and we'll talk about that here in this podcast. So, Christopher Talent, he is a licensed broker. Hi, Christopher. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thanks. So, what kind of life insurance do you sell?
I specialize in final expense, which is basically burial insurance of some degree. When you die, there's going to be a bill. Somebody's going to have to pay it. So my job is to get you to buy life insurance so somebody can pay that.
Okay. Tell us about, there's two different kinds. I mean, we hear about like, oh, I need $1 million policy. I need a $10,000 policy. What kind of policies are there?
So the large policies that you hear about, those are term life policies, and a term insurance policy at some point terminates, which you can technically outlive that policy, and then all the money that you've put in will be for nothing. So whole life policies are generally between $10,000 and $30,000, and they last your whole life. They're going to be a little bit more money, but they never terminate. So, and it's generally, you're not going to get, like if someone comes to me that's 30 to 40 years old, I'm not going to suggest they get a whole life policy. I would suggest they get a term life policy. Whole life policy is really about, when you're in your 50s and 60s, and 70s. So towards the end. And of course, the older you get, the more expensive it gets, of course.
Okay. So 20-something comes up to you and wants life insurance policy. You're going to sell them a term policy.
Correct. And it would be probably like a 35-year policy, which when you're in your 20s, if your policy is going to end before you're 60, you hope you're going to live longer than that. But I mean, nobody really knows when their time is up. But when you're in your 20s, you certainly don't want a whole life policy. It just doesn't really make sense unless you can find one that's super, super cheap, like $5 or $10 a month or something,
Okay.
But that's a bill you're going to pay for the rest of your life,
So if I'm 20, maybe I can get a $5 policy.
If you're in your 20s or 30s and you have $1 million policy and your payment's $20, if you're struggling, you're like, well, I got to pay that because that's potentially $1 million to my family if something happens to me, I mean, because it really is more important than your phone bill, when you think about it. You're like, well, I can't do without my phone. Yeah, well, you're providing something for your family when you're gone, so that should be more important than your phone.
That policy then, I mean, it's going to terminate. Can I change it into a whole life policy?
Yeah, so what will happen is at the end of your term policy, in most cases, they'll let you extend it, and then it just costs more money. Your payment will go up, and then in some policies they will convert it at some point if you wish to do that.
Okay.
But then the price would then still increase.
Okay. So I'm not wasting my money, right? Because eventually I'm going to get the opportunity to do something with it, and so that policy will follow me for the rest of my life, ideally.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so the policies that you get through an employer, are those typically whole life or
those are term? Those are term policies.
Okay.
And they terminate when you leave that company.
Okay.
Which is why insurance companies like to do those, because they know at some point you're going to more than likely leave before you die. Yeah. I mean, the odds of you dying while you're working somewhere is pretty low, so, they need all those people to pay and then not collect. That way they can afford to pay the people who do collect.
Okay. So, what would be the benefit of me putting my money away in a we're going to do the term life. What would be the benefit if I had, like you said, something goes wrong, out of work or whatever, and now I've got all this money wrapped up into a term policy? Does it serve me in any way?
There are in some policies they have different riders that'll allow you to use. Let's say you get in an accident and you become disabled. There's living benefits, so there are benefits when you have life insurance, whether it's whole life or term life, that can benefit you. Like
Okay,
in
so
a
I
whole
get
life, like a whole life policy, it builds cash value. So let's say you're paying on it for 10 years and you have a huge bill you need to pay, or something happens, you can find out what your cash value is on that policy and then borrow against that.
okay.
And then if you don't pay it back, you just, and something happens to you, that's just that much less your policy is worth.
Okay. So let's talk about your bread and butter, the whole life policies. And so, what if, let's say, we're investing in a whole life policy and we haven't even paid, like it's a $25,000 policy, haven't even paid that much money into it. Is it still going to pay the $25,000 policy back?
If the person passes away?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, if you have, let's say you sign up today for immediate coverage and your payment's $80 and you make that payment for 2 months and then you pass away, have a heart attack and die, like that policy is going to pay the full 25,000.
Okay.
So.
And then what if I'm 60 and I end up living till I'm 90? I paid more than $25,000, and what's going to happen?
So if you're paying more than what your policy is, they pay you whatever overage that you've paid.
Oh, okay.
If your policy is $25,000 and you've paid in $7,800 more in premiums, that person will get that $7,800 additional.
Okay. And for a whole life and term life, is the price locked in?
For whole life, it's locked in. For term, some companies, it's not locked in.
Okay, so that's something you got to look at. You got to look at
Correct.
the fine print.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. There's some term policies that every 5 or 7 years you're going to get a price increase.
Okay.
And the older you get, the more it goes up.
So, okay, I keep on flipping back and forth, but back to your bread and butter. So your whole life policies. So let's just first talk about, like, what the hell does it matter? $10,000, like, it doesn't seem like a lot of money to me. But what is the cost of burial and
So cremation depends on what state you're in. Like in California, it's going to be more expensive to get cremated than it is, like here in Western Colorado. But typically, just a simple cremation is going to cost anywhere from $1,800 to $4,000, depending on where you're at.
Okay. And then what if I want the beautiful coffin and all that good stuff?
If you want full burial, $8,000 to $20,000, depending on where you're at.
Okay. So, I think that's something. I'm an estate planning attorney, as you know, and that's something that people really don't think about, right? They don't think about, like, hey, I've got this $20,000 Edward Jones account and I want that to go to my kids. Well, shit, if you want a full burial, that's going to go to your burial. That's not going to go to your kids.
Yeah.
So that's something that I will admit as an attorney that I don't always contemplate, that I'm not always discussing until now that I've been with you as a broker, but that we don't always contemplate. So that's a big amount of money. And if you don't have anything in your estate, right, then somebody's got to come out of pocket, because the good old state of Colorado or the state of California or whomever, they don't pay that cost, do they?
No.
Okay.
No. If you die and you're in the morgue and nobody picks you up, the state's not going to go, well, let's go ahead and cremate them and then find their loved ones and give them the ashes for free. Like, that just isn't going to happen.
Okay.
When I talk with people, I ask them, like, sometimes I'll say, like, if you don't have insurance and you die tomorrow, what's that look like for your family? they're going to be grieving, of course, but then the thought of, well, how are we going to pay for all of that? Is that going to be a problem? Some people it's not, but some people, I need at least $5,000 because they're like, my kids have nothing. They can't afford to cremate me. That's nuts. They're going to have to do a GoFundMe or, borrow money or something, go into debt to take care of you, so like some people think about that, and then other people, they don't think about it.
So you're just sitting on ice until that GoFundMe hits $2,000.
You're just sitting down in the refrigerator at the morgue, and they're calling you, hey, can you come get this body out of here?
And that's the last fucking thing you need, right?
Oh yeah,
like
exactly.
your mom, your mom just died, and you're like, fuck, the morgue is bothering me. They're bugging me. They're calling me every single second. Hey, come get this. I need $2,000. I need this. Blah 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 blah. It's like, shit.
Yeah, and on top of that, your mom or your dad or your loved one just died, so you've got that tragedy going on, and now you've got all this lumped onto you, and unfortunately the natural reaction is going to be like, your loved ones are going to be a little bit bitter about it. People that call in all the time, like, hey, my loved one died and we saw they talked to you guys. Yeah, well, they didn't get insurance because they thought the $50 a month was too much. And now you're stuck with the bill.
Yeah.
So don't be mad at us. They're the ones who didn't want to do it,
And so could I go out and get a policy for my mom? So knowing my mom, hey, mom doesn't want to fuck with that right now, but like I would rather pay, I think mom's going to die, in a year or two. And I would rather pay $200 than $10,000 for her
Correct.
fancy burial.
Yeah.
So could I go out and get that for her?
And people do that. Like there are though, like I come across that where people are like, I have to talk with my daughter because they're the ones who are going to pay for that, who are going to be making the payment.
So that's legit. That's not just shit you see on real life TV.
No, that's a legitimate way. Like if you're a son or a daughter, it's like your mom. I mean, she's in her 70s, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it wouldn't be inexpensive to get a policy for her, but somebody's going to have to pay for it. And if you're like, well, she doesn't have insurance, so it's going to be me. Well, I mean, would you rather pay for 5 or 6 years, $80 a month, or $10,000 at the end of it? So
yeah. Do I need to go through a medical examination or what? Like, how does this all work?
When you do term life, depending on how much it is, I mean, you're always going to have medical questions to some degree. Like with term insurance, you're always going to have a lot of medical questions. They're going to do medical checks on you for sure. And then depending on how much it is, sometimes they'll require, like if it's a $3 or $4 million policy, you're going to have to go get checked. That's for sure. Whole life doesn't do that. They're going to have 20 questions, and then they look at your medical history. They'll use your social security number, pull up your medical history, and it gives them anything that, all your pharmaceutical stuff that you've been using, all your medications and stuff.
They can get that from my social security number?
Yeah. Just the same way, like when you go down to the hospital, when you go to the doctor and they're like, what's your social security number? That stuff is all tied in with your social security number.
See, I thought they were just taking my social security number for billing purposes, because you think like, well, I have to order medical records from this place, this place, this place. That's just because they're lazy, or
no, it's all tied in with your social security number because it's easier. Like you think about, like, how many primary doctors have you had?
Yeah.
I thought of this before back in the day. I'm like, well, how are they going to check my medical? They don't even know my doctors. How are they going to look that up? Well, now it's all tied in with your social security number. So, like, it's easy to find those things out, which it's not like a weird or a big brother thing. It's really it's convenient for you as well. If somebody says, well, we need your medical records. I don't have all that stuff, but I do want to know what my social security number is,
Okay.
So it's helpful. But so like the whole life policies, and even the term life, they'll use your social security number, look at your background, medical background, and then make determinations based off of that, what they see.
And how long does that take?
Seconds.
Really?
Yeah.
It's like getting your credit report. Just
It's exactly like that. It's the same exact thing.
okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's the same thing, other than it's not like insurance is based off of a score, like they have a scoring system, that the insurance companies use, like who's going to be, like one of the questions that we ask when we're applying is, are you a convicted felon? And people are like, what's that got to do with anything? Well, if you're a felon, you're probably into riskier activities,
Oh,
so it does make a difference. So, yeah. That's
okay.
actually a knockout question. If you're if they say, have you committed any felonies in the last 3 years? And it's a yes, you're not getting life insurance.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, that's a knockout.
Sorry, felons.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're screwed.
No, it's not. That's another, it's like, well, it's just another
price you pay for the crime you committed.
Yeah. You can't be mad about it because you didn't have to do the crime.
So think twice before you go out and kill anyone, people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, okay. But now I know out of personal experience, I have stage 4 cancer and we just got me a policy, right? Because and it's a wise investment, right? So what are we paying? Like 100 and
we're paying like $130 or 100 and it's less than $140 for 25,000, I think.
Okay. And so the statistics say that I'm probably going to die within the next 4 years. So we will not have paid $25,000 into that account. And so actually, instead of putting that money into Edward Jones, it's a much better investment for me, for my situation, for you, but to put that money into the life insurance policy. But you talk about knockout questions. Isn't having stage 4 cancer a knockout question?
That's correct. It is. If you have stage 4 cancer, you're not going to get immediate coverage. So you have to go through what they call guarantee issue, and they don't have medical questions. But it is more money. And then you have a 2-year period where if you die within the first 2 years, they're only going to pay back what you've put in plus 10%.
Huh.
And then after 2 years, you get the full policy.
Okay. 10%. That's a good investment. Don't get that from a savings account.
No, you don't. No, I get people all the time like, well, why wouldn't I just put that in the bank? Because the bank ain't giving you 10%.
Yeah, neither is my Edward Jones account. Yeah.
I got people that are like, well, I got $10,000 in the bank. Why would I get a $10,000 policy? We'll just use the $10,000 you got in the bank to make the payments, because if you die with, they're going to get 10% that first 2 years.
Yeah.
That sitting in the bank ain't getting you 10%. That's a fact.
So when I die, if I die within the first 2 years, again, it's going to pay out whatever we've put in plus 10%.
Correct.
Then after 2 years, we're guaranteed for the $25,000.
The $25,000 policy is guaranteed.
And that cost never goes up each month.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
So,
no, once you have your whole life policy, it doesn't matter what happens to you, how sick you get. They can't drop you or change the price.
Okay. The only way that it can be undone is by you not paying.
If you don't pay.
Okay.
Yep. And that's what they hope. They hope you pay for a long time and then quit paying.
So what states are you licensed in, Mr. Talent?
I'm licensed in Colorado, Idaho, Montana, Arizona, Texas, Michigan, Minnesota, Ohio, North Carolina, West Virginia, Florida,
Tennessee.
And Tennessee. Yep.
And so how can somebody go about finding you? When I call you, how long is this phone call going to last?
From start to finish are typically between an hour and 20 minutes. And that's like when I call somebody and I just start talking to them, and then we're going through the whole process of talking about how much they need, what they need, and looking for the right policy. The application process is about 25 minutes.
Okay. But that's going from start to finish. That's like if you sign up, if you're going through the signature process, everything's
Yep.
complete
Yep.
from like, hey, how are you? I need to know your name, your age,
Yeah.
your height.
Like I've never met you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then all the way to, hey, now I've got a policy at the end of this conversation.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. It's actually very, to do the application process, I deal with people all the time. I mean, elderly people that messing with the phone's a struggle, and they get through it. It's very. I mean, if you know how to scroll through Facebook, you're going to be able to do the application for sure.
I see a lot of commercials, $9.95, and I do notice that in the fine print, those are guaranteed issues. So those are a 2-year wait period, correct?
They're not; those are term life policies. So, and there is a 2-year waiting period, and you're not going to qualify for the $10.
Okay.
Because
that's for like the youngsters.
It's probably for the person that the anomaly that is very rarely seen.
Okay. It's starting because it does say starting at $10 a month.
Yeah.
So that's not realistic. We talked about my example. Is there any other, do you have any other examples of a cost for a whole life insurance policy?
I just did one that was $15,000, and the person has a lot going on, but it was still immediate coverage. So they're going to, as soon as they do their application and make their first payment, they're covered immediately. It was $72 and some change.
Okay. So it's not bad. Immediate coverage.
For immediate coverage.
And they had a lot of health issues.
Yeah, they had some health issues. Yeah.
Okay.
I have a client that I got a guarantee policy, the same policy like what we got you. Once I talked to this lady, I was like, why haven't we done this yet? But her kids, she has stage 4 cancer, and she's fairly elderly, but they were taking out as many $25,000 guarantee issue policies as they could afford. And because they know, even though that they suspect their mother's going to live more than 2 years, but probably not much beyond that. And the family is in agreement. It seemed kind of weird for me in the beginning because it seemed almost, I don't know, like morbid in a way, or profiting off of someone's death. But if you know you're going,
yeah,
and it's like, well, I want to make sure my kids are taken care of, and the kids are going, well, if you know you're going, why don't I make that payment? She had 2 kids, and each company has a limit on how much you can take out. So they basically they were hitting every insurance company that they could sign up to, and their policies were like $125 a month, and they probably, I think they had 9 or 10 of those policies. So between the 2 kids, the payments aren't significant. I mean, they're significant every month combined, but the reality is they have about $1 million in coverage between the 2 of them, and their mother, who's not going to live at least another 5 years, so they'll probably pay in $50,000, and when their mother passes, they'll get, whatever those policies amounts are. Probably, I think it was like 800 and something, close to $1 million, 800 to $1 million. The investment part of it, well, yeah, it's a great investment. And the mom didn't care because she's not making the payments,
Yeah.
And it seems weird. It sounds weird. It feels weird, but financially, investment wise, it's like, well, yeah, that's a great way to invest your money. And there's going to be something very bad happen, and in the end, it's going to create a better situation for everyone financially. And you're not going to have your mother anymore, but because cancer took her life, cancer is also put hundreds of thousands of dollars in your bank. So
Yeah. So in a case where I want to get my mom life insurance, does my mom have to sign off on that?
your mom has to she has to sign off on it. You can't just get insurance on somebody and them not know life insurance.
Okay.
Because they have to answer the questions. You can't answer the health questions for your mother. She has to do the application.
Okay.
And then you also sign off on it at the end because you're the one paying for it.
Okay.
And it has to be like if you have a friend, like my dear friend has stage 4 cancer. And she said I could get life insurance on her. You can't. You have to be immediate family. You can't just get life insurance on anyone.
Oh, really?
Nope. You can get, if you're a business partner,
Yeah.
you can get an insurance policy on them, on each other. But if there's nothing connecting you, if it isn't a business or a partnership or immediate family, they won't let you do it.
Okay. So is a certain percentage of the insurance policy cost each month going to you? So if the insurance policy is $139, can somebody then say, can I get a different insurance policy with somebody else and it be less because their commission is less?
No, because the commission, like we work directly with the insurance companies. So like Mutual Omaha, when they say for this specific person, this policy is $150 a month. You can call every broker in town and whoever's contracting through Mutual Omaha, that plan is going to, if it's the same plan, it's going to be exactly the same money to the penny.
Okay.
Insurance agents, they get paid a commission, but there's also, it's such a weird system because you have, I don't want to say it's a pyramid scheme, but you work under somebody who also gets a part of that commission of what you just sold, so if you get 100% commission, if the policy is paying 100% commission, you're probably getting 60 and then 40% is going to other people you may have never even met.
Okay.
So,
But at the end of the day, like as a consumer, it doesn't matter to me because it's not like going out and buying a car, right? I'm not going to go to Subaru in Montrose or Subaru in Detroit and get two different prices because there's clearly like that kind of a commission, right? That can fluctuate the cost of my car.
Not with legitimate brokers. There's not. There's no, like I can't, if you said, well, man, that seemed like, what's my price? Oh, it's 200 when the Mutual of Omaha is telling me it's 150. I can't charge you 200 because I'm technically really the secretary for Mutual of Omaha. All I'm doing is the paperwork. They're providing the price.
Okay.
So they provide the price. It's all in the contract. I don't get to tell them, here's what I told them, and they said yes.
All right. So how do we get in contact with you?
My phone number is 970-892-9537, or you can go to Facebook and Insurance by Christopher.
Insurance with Christopher.
Insurance with Christopher.
Yep. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks for being here. Is there anything else you want to add?
I would say the only thing I would add is you're going to see lots of advertising. Everybody does a lot of advertising on Facebook, and you see a lot of things like $30,000 free government program for $30,000. That's not exactly true. There's no free $30,000 life insurance program. Typically, so you're going to give us your information, then somebody like me is going to call you and you're going to be like, I want that $30,000 for free. That's not really a thing, so, and then there's just if you're seeing advertising, you just really got to look at it and go, does that even make sense? If it doesn't make sense, it's not true. And it's not, there's a grain of truth in it. in all of it because there has to be, but it's most generally it's not going to be stuff that people can qualify for.
So be wise. People just like everything else that you see on the fucking internet. You've got to be wise. You've got to use what we often see lacking is that common sense, that streetwise perception. Use it, look at it. Does it make sense? And if not,
Read the fine print.
Yeah, read the fine print. Yeah. And then you'll figure it out. But yeah, you gotta you just gotta use your sense, your gut feeling when you're looking at those advertisements online. There's always a little something, something. Do your research.
And also I would like to add that life insurance it'll be the most important insurance for your family that you ever get, yet it's the most procrastinated insurance that there is.
Yeah, it makes sense because quite honestly, we're greedy. We're a greedy society, right? And so, I don't really want to invest. I'll invest for you, but, if it were, maybe my kids, I might go, I don't know. I've provided for them their whole damn lives. Do I really want to provide for them now? But
and some kids don't need it.
Yeah.
And there's some people who are like, hey, I don't want to leave that bill to my kids. I know they got money, but I just don't want to do that. And that's fine. And I've talked with people who are like, my kids are broke as hell and I don't care. They deserve exactly that giant bill that's coming to them, they're just mean about it. And you're like, damn. And then there's other people that when we talk and I'm like, what does that look like if something happens to you tomorrow? What's it look like for your family? And then they just go, it's not going to be good financially. And they're just like, I'm not having that.
And what I can say as a probate attorney is that, it's shit like that tears families apart, right? So if you pass and you leave your children with a bill, and let's say only Sally has the means to pay for that funeral that you've always wanted, Sally pays for it now, and she's got the ashes, and then Joe and Billy Bob, they now want part of the ashes, and Sally's like, well, then give me some of the money that I fronted. Give me some of that cost. And it can tear families apart, right?
Absolutely.
It can really it can tear some sibling relationships apart. I see that all the time. I see families get torn apart by these small financial obligations. Well, seemingly small, but in the big picture, it's really pretty big for people who are struggling already, and they're paying, if they have to put that on their credit card, now they're paying 27% interest on that cost. And it's like, okay, well, and then if Billy Bob doesn't want to pay any of that, then you're upset with them, you're pissed. And you're like, well, then you shouldn't get any of the ashes. You shouldn't get, you shouldn't get this. And then they don't want to talk to each other at the funeral, blah, 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 blah. It's a bad situation. So we really want to avoid that if at all possible.
Yeah. Just do what, if you were in the position of having to take care of somebody, and everybody comes across it in their life, somebody will die that you're responsible or partly responsible for taking care of them. What are we going to do? It's my parents or your kid or something, it's like, how would you want that to be handled? Would it be easier for you to know oh man, they had a $25,000 policy. This is going to be great. Now we can throw them an elaborate funeral if that's what we want to do. You're thinking of how you're going to remember them, not how you're going to pay for them.
Yeah.
Now quit procrastinating. And I know there's people out there right now listening going, oh yeah, that's me.
Get on the phone right now and call Christopher, 970-892-9537, serving your needs in 13 different states.
And if one of those states isn't your state, still call me, because I have several associates that, we care about helping people. It's not about we'll get you the best policy for the best money, not what makes us the most money. We're going to get you the least expensive policy that we can get that works for you.
All
That's
right.
what we care about.
Thanks, Christopher. Thanks, honey.
Mhm.
970-892-9537. Thanks to everyone for listening. If you like this podcast, there's more to come, and there's more to be had about cancer in general. And yeah, fuck cancer. All right, follow me.